Hi, third grade. Today we're moving on to lesson 2.7, Use and Make Line Plots. We're going to first unlock the problem, and then we'll take a look at a new kind of graph today. A line plot uses marks to record each piece of data above a number line. It helps you see groups in the data. Some students took a survey of the number of letters in their first names. Then they recorded the data in a line plot. How many students have 6 letters in their first names? So let's first take a look at what we have on our line plot. It looks a little different. I'm used to the title being up here at the top when I see a lot of the graphs that I've been working on lately, the bar graphs, the picture graphs, but I don't see that here. But I am noticing at the bottom that I see there's a title right here, number of letters in our first names. So if I look at that title, these numbers that you see are standing for the number of letters in our first names. So for example, my first name is Natalie. So I have 7 letters in my name. And so for me, I would place an X on the line plot to represent my name. Think about how many letters your name has. Where would you place that on the line plot? Each X stands for a student. So go ahead and stand up and make an X with your body. You can kind of think of that when you're working with line plots. Typically, line plots, the X will stand for a student, a person, maybe an animal. So we'll kind of see what the different ways the X's stand for as we go through our lesson today. So we have to figure out how many students have 6 letters in their name, in their first name. And I see the word students here, so I know I'm going to be counting X's. So I'm going to find 6 on the number line. There it is. The 6 stands for 6 letters. And I can see that on my label right below. And there are, let's count them, 1, 2, 3, 4 X's above the 6. So therefore, 4 students have 6 letters in their first name. So let's go down to our questions. Number 1, which number of letters was found the most often? Well, I'm going to see how many X's each of them have, and I'm going to look at the one that has the most X's. So I see right now, just by looking at the line plot, there are the names with 5 letters. I saw when I counted has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 students. So 5 letters was found the most often. And for when I'm answering this problem, it's asking me which number of letters was found the most often. So now I know I'm going to have to write one of these numbers down here for the letters. It didn't ask me how many students. So I'm just going to see that there were the most X's on 5. So the number of letters were 5 that had the most. Write a sentence to describe the data. So I'm going to take a look at 2 of the numbers. I'm going to look at the number 7 with 7 letters in the name and 5. And I think the sentence I'm going to describe is I'm going to compare the number of students that have 5 letters in their first name or 7 letters. And I see that there's a difference of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I see that, let's make a little subtraction sentence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 students have 5 letters in their name compared to students that have 7 letters. Only 1 student has 7 letters. So there are 5 more students that have 5 letters in their name than students with 7 letters in their name. So I'm going to write that. And you can write this in your book also. So there are 5 more students who have 5 letters in their name than 7 letters in their name. You can pause the video to finish writing that if you need more time. Now my sentence at number 2 could vary. I mean, I could use any kind of information from this line plot. I might say that more students have first names with letters 3 through 5 compared to letters with 6 through 8. So I notice a lot of the students had fewer letters in their name. I could have wrote something like that. I could have even said that 3 letters and 8 letters both had 2 students that had those number of letters in their name. So maybe you can come up with another way that you can compare this information in the graph. Okay, let's go down to 3. How many letters are in your first name? And then 4 tells us to put an X above the number of letters in your first name. All right, so I have 7 letters. So how many letters? I'm going to label that 7 letters. You go ahead and count the letters in your name, write them and label them, and then go ahead and place the X above on the line plot. And what does the X stand for? 1 student. In this graph, 1 student. Okay, let's go on to our next problem, 127. And we're going to do some problem solving with another line plot. Before we get started, I wanted to take a look at the line plot that I have on the right-hand side because I see that the title is at the bottom again, height of avocado plants, and they're measured in inches. So I'm thinking of a ruler. A ruler has 12 inches, and I'm thinking they're going to be measuring inch by inch. And these are all the inches we're going to be talking about. There are some plants that have 6 inches, 7 inches, 8 inches, all the way up to 12 inches. So I see that one plant is actually a foot tall, right? Because there are 12 inches in 1 foot. Wow, that's a tall plant. All right, we're going to use the line plot at the right for numbers 4 through 6. And in this case, can you tell me what the X's stand for? Do they stand for students now? See if you can figure it out. If you said that they stand for each plant, you are right. I'm going to put that up here. An X equals 1 plant. Okay, so let's read number 4. Use appropriate tools. Garden Club members recorded the height of their avocado plants to the nearest inch in a line plot. Write a sentence to describe what the line plot shows. Okay, so this is similar to the one we did the graph before. We have to take a look at the data and compare them. Okay, so let's see. How can I describe what this is showing? Well, I know that it's showing the height of avocado plants. And I know that we're going from inches 6 from all the way up to 12 inches. So let's write something like that. The line plot shows, so you can go ahead and write along with me, 127. The line plot shows that plants, I'll put avocado plants, were 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, or 12 inches tall. So I'm basically taking the title here and the numbers and describing what it's all about. You can pause the video if you need to write a little bit more. Now we're going to go to 5 where we're thinking smarter. How many more plants are 8 or 9 inches tall than 6 or 7 inches tall? Well, whenever I have a problem like this, I'm going to pick out key words first. So I think I'm going to notice here, let's see, how many more than I see here. So I know that I'm going to somewhere in there be subtracting. I'm going to put a little subtraction symbol there. But then I'm noticing 8 or 9 inches tall, and it seems like I'm comparing those with 6 or 7 inches tall. So I'm thinking I have to add those together, I'm going to add the 8 or 9 inches tall and the 6 or 7 inches tall. Now for me, what I do, and this is just a way that I visualize this in my mind, I put a balance here, and I think we did that on our previous lesson. Even though this may not be balanced, what I do is I look to the left of the than sign and I see 8 or 9 inches. So these are going to be all the plants that are 8 or 9 inches, and I'm going to add those in a minute. And then I'm comparing them to plants that are 6 or 7 inches. All right, and then I know I'm going to be subtracting once I do that. Okay, so that kind of forms a visual in your mind. Now we have to go up and count all the plants that are 8 or 9 inches. So if I look up here with my green, I'll do this. The 8-inch ones and 9-inch ones I'm going to be combining. So I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plus 3. So I'm going to write that here, and I know 5 plus 3 is 8. So there are 8 plants that are 8 or 9 inches tall. And now I have to also come up and count 6 and 7 inches tall for the other side. 3 plus 3, and that equals 6. But then I remembered I have to subtract, because now I'm comparing the plants that are 8 or 9 inches tall, which there were 8 plants, okay, that were 8 or 9 inches tall, and then there were 6 plants that were either 6 or 7 inches tall. So now I'm going to subtract those two. And then 8 minus 6, the difference is 2. So there were 2 plants that were 8 or 9 inches tall more. So the 2 more plants were 8 or 9 inches compared to 6 or 7 inches. That was a little bit tricky there. So let's write that. I have to explain. So let's put, there are 2 more plants, and then I'm going to put 8 plants are 8 or 9 inches tall, and you can pause the video to help you do that if you'd like. And then 6 plants are 6 or 7 inches tall. And I put a little semicolon here to separate the 2 facts that I put. And I am going to write my problem that I solved. I'm going to put that here. 8 minus 6 equals 2. So whenever you have to combine 2 numbers together on both sides here before you subtract, try that balance. Try that little scale there to help you form a visual in your mind. All right, let's go down to number 6. This is going to be our last question here. How many plants are taller than 8 inches? Okay, so I'm thinking taller. I know that 8 inches, I'm not going to include any plants that are 8 inches, but I know taller than 8 inches we have 9. And if I look at my line plot, 9, 10, 11, and 12 inches are the ones that I'm going to count, because I want to figure out the plants that are taller than 8. Okay, so I'm going to take another color with that. And you can color code with yours too when you're doing this, because I had green up there for my last problem. So now I need to count all of these X's from 9 all the way to 12. So go ahead and count those. And my answer is 7 plants. So hopefully today you learned a little bit more about line plots. Remember, be careful when the question's asking you how many plants or how many inches. So that's usually the tricky thing about line plots. Just like in our problem with students, they could be asking the number of letters in your name, or they could be asking the number of students. So it's good to pay attention to the question. And you know, in this case, if they were asking the number of plants, we would count the X's. And if they were asking the number of students, we would also count the X's. So it's always good to know what the X's are representing in each problem. I hope you enjoyed learning with me, and I will see you at our next math lesson. Bye.